You stand at 12,800 feet. Cold, thin air burns in your lungs. Before you, scattered across ancient ground, lie massive stone blocks carved with precision that challenges every assumption about what people could do 1,500 years ago. Right angles cut to within millimeters. Stones weighing 131 tons moved from quarries 10 kilometers away. H-shaped blocks that interlock like machine parts. This is Puma Punku, 45 miles west of La Paz, Bolivia, on the high desert plateau near Lake Titicaca, gate of the Puma in the Aymara language. And scientists, archaeologists, and engineers still cannot explain how it was done. Your lungs work harder pulling oxygen from atmosphere, a third less dense than sea level. The ground crunches under your feet, volcanic rock and sand, and everywhere stones. Massive stones, perfect stones, impossible stones. The culture dominated the Lake Titicaca basin from around 300 to 1000 AD, supporting up to 20,000 people at peak. The site covers roughly 4 square kilometers. Surface remains include decorated ceramics, monumental structures, and megalithic blocks. Spanish conquistador Pedro Cieza de Leon first recorded Tiwanaku in 1549. He found ruins already ancient. Bernabe Cobo, a Jesuit chronicler, reported the site's name was once Tepicala, meaning stone in the center. The Tiwanaku believed it lay at the center of the world, and when you stand here, you understand why. The landscape stretches forever. Lake Titicaca glimmers in the distance. Mountains ring the horizon. This place feels like the center of something vast, something lost. Architecture aligned with astronomical events. The Kalasasaya temple marked solstices. Stand at the center during winter solstice and the sun rises perfectly framed by the gateway. The semi-subterranean temple held carved heads and monolithic stelae. Faces stare from the walls. Hundreds of them, each one different. Some scholars say they represent conquered peoples. Others say they're portraits of ancestors. No one knows for certain. The Akapana pyramid rose 15 meters with internal drainage systems. Water flowed through channels carved into stone. The system collected rainwater and directed it through the structure, engineering that still functions after 1,400 years. Puma Punku stood as perhaps the most important structure after Akapana. The two are called twins in the archaeological record. Twin temples, twin functions, twin purposes lost to time. Then around 1000 AD, the whole civilization collapsed. Drought dried the raised field agriculture. The city emptied. But the collapse wasn't gradual. It was fast. Within a generation, the great city lay abandoned. Imagine it. 10,000 to 20,000 people living, working, worshiping. Markets full of goods. Ceremonies drawing pilgrims from hundreds of kilometers. Then, within 30 years, silence. Empty plazas, abandoned temples. Wind whistling through vacant courtyards. When the Inca arrived in 1470, 470 years later, the ruins had been abandoned for centuries. The Inca walked through the broken stones and wondered, who built this? How did they do it? Where did they go? The Inca had no answers. They created myths instead. Myths of gods creating the world. Myths of giants moving stones. But what the Tiwanaku left behind breaks the rules. 12 specific mysteries that no one has fully solved. Let's go through them one by one. 1997, titled, Who Taught the Inca Stonemasons? Their skills, examining Tiwanaku construction methods through experimental archaeology, and from the Heritage Science Journal published by Alexei Vranich in 2018, detailing 3D reconstruction of Puma Punku architecture. These aren't popular articles. These are primary archaeological research papers with methodology you can replicate. Now back to the information. The 131-ton platform slab. The largest stone at Puma Punku sits in the Plataforma Litica, 7.81 meters long, 5.17 meters wide. Averages 1.07 meters thick. Red sandstone, 131 metric tons. Petrographic analysis traced it to quarries near Kimsachta Mountain, roughly 10 kilometers away. The stone traveled up a steep incline from Lake Titicaca's shore at 3,810 meters elevation. Jean-Pierre Protzen documented them. But moving 131 tons, even with 1,000 workers, requires precision. If each worker pulls 50 kilograms of force, you need 2,620 people. Friction multiplies required force by 2 to 5 times. Now you need 5,000 to 13,000 people pulling synchronized. Llama skin ropes stretch under load. Multiple redundant lines prevented failure. Ramps at exact gradients prevent sliding backward. One slip and the stone shatters or crushes people. Copper-filled cramp sockets show repair attempts. They tried to hold them together, then they left. Titicaca. Transporting andesite 90 kilometers across a lake at altitude required boat fleets, loading docks, storage facilities, inventory tracking, industrial scale organization. She carved a half-cross design 8 inches across, matching Puma Punku precision. It took 40 hours. Researchers estimated an experienced person could do it in 25 hours. The H blocks are far larger, with 80 faces, complex grooves, smooth surfaces, sharp corners. Hundreds of hours per block minimum, over 130 H blocks documented, tens of thousands of hours of master craftsman time, decades of focused effort. Nair couldn't replicate the perfectly flat interior surfaces. Hammerstones create curves. These surfaces were planar. Pratzen suggested repeated, systematic use of a straight edge moving in concentric circles while hammering, but no straight edges have been excavated. Pratzen and Nair's conclusion in their 1997 paper, to obtain the smooth finishes, the perfectly planar faces, and exact interior and exterior right angles, they resorted to techniques unknown to the Incas and to us at this time. The construction tools remain essentially unknown. Unknown techniques 15 centuries later. Some tighter. A razor blade is 0.1 millimeters thick. If it won't fit, the gap is less than 100 microns. Human hair width. Cut the top of the lower stone at a specific angle. Cut the bottom of the upper stone at the same angle. Stack them. If both angles match perfectly, the joint bears weight evenly and appears seamless. But angular precision better than 0.1 degrees without modern instruments is extraordinary. Surveying precision. String for sighting lines. Skill. Decades of training. They use plumb bobs and ropes to establish references. Strings define horizontal lines. The Egyptians used boning rods, 3 rods on a string to check flatness. Hold one at each end, one in middle. If all 3 touch simultaneously, the surface is flat. The Tiwanaku might have used similar methods, but no evidence survives. What's certain is the result. Joints tighter than anything the Inca achieved 6 centuries later. Inca joints have rounded interior angles typical of hammerstone pounding. Tiwanaku joints at Puma Punku have sharp 90 degrees. Different technique. Higher precision. Lost after collapse. Dimensions vary slightly, but the design repeats. Same H shape, same dovetail grooves, same 80 face complexity. Pratzen and Nair called it mass production. Infrastructure supporting modular construction suggests centralized planning rare in pre-Columbian South America. State-level complexity, taxation to fund projects, labor conscription, craft specialization, elite administrators coordinating logistics, religious ideology justifying effort. The H blocks formed gateways, courtyards, and platforms where ceremonies happened. Pilgrims from across the empire traveled here. The Tiwanaku sphere extended from southern Peru through Bolivia into northern Chile, hundreds of kilometers. Travel on foot takes weeks. You carry your own food, sleep under stars, cross mountain passes, wade through rivers, and then you arrive. You climb the final hill. Before you rises Puma Punku. Gateways carved from single stones, platforms rising in perfect terraces, H blocks interlocking with precision you've never seen. The message is clear: the gods favor Tiwanaku. The gods grant Tiwanaku power, and you, the pilgrim, are small before that power. Pilgrims needed to be impressed. Architecture projected power, uniformity showed control. Look at these blocks, identical, interchangeable, dozens of them. Such control over stone implies control over everything. Precision, a demonstrated divine favor. If the gods didn't bless Tiwanaku, how could mere humans achieve this? The Tiwanaku elite used stonework to project power. Architecture as propaganda, the message written in stone. Peak construction between 600 and 630. The best masons worked roughly 1 generation, 30 years. After that quality drops, structures use reused stones. New construction stops. By 700 to 1000 AD, the city thrived, population peaked. But Puma Punku sat incomplete. Scattered blocks, half-built gateways. The modular system abandoned mid-project. The Tiwanaku locked stones together with metal. I-shaped architectural cramps, made of bronze poured into T-shaped sockets cut into adjacent blocks. The socket shape is precise, narrow at surface, wider at depth, creating mechanical lock. When metal cooled, it held stones in place, good for seismic stability. The Altiplano sits in an earthquake zone. 2.05% arsenic, 0.84% silicon, 0.26% iron, 1.7% nickel. That nickel is the problem, 1.7%. Nickel doesn't occur naturally in significant quantities in the Titicaca Basin. Closest known nickel sources are far away, possibly Chile or Peru. Their ceramics appear at hundreds of sites. Others propose an undiscovered local source. Geological surveys aren't complete. Arsenic bronze is common in the Andes, but controlling alloy composition requires knowledge. The 1.7% nickel improves tensile strength. Copper alone is soft. Adding arsenic helps. Adding nickel helps more. For architectural cramps, holding blocks during earthquakes, tensile strength matters. Pouring molten bronze into narrow sockets requires skill. Bronze melts around 850 degrees Celsius. Recent scans showed the metal was poured, not placed. Imaging examined cramp sockets. Metal flowed into every crevice. That indicates pouring. Bringing furnaces to Puma Punku required infrastructure, charcoal from lower elevations. At 12,800 feet, trees don't grow. Bellows from animal skins increase oxygen. Thin air has less oxygen. Fires burn cooler. Bellows compensate. Crucibles from ceramic held molten metal. But the nickel-bronze alloy is unusual. Each hole equally spaced at 28 millimeters apart. Fresh abrasive added regularly. By the time archaeologists arrived, the metal was gone, but the mounting holes remain. Grind where too shallow. Avoid areas deep enough. Gradual refinement until profile matches. Archaeologists have found thousands of stone flakes at Tiwanaku, most cataloged as debitage, but some might be tools themselves. No written curriculum, just mentorship. Copper is 3 to 3.5. Bronze is 3 to 4, softer than andesite. You can't cut andesite with bronze efficiently. Yet the H-blocks show perfectly straight cuts. 90-degree angles sharp enough to draw blood. Surfaces flat to within millimeters over large areas. The process involved pounding andesite with harder stone, creating trough-like depressions visible on unfinished blocks at quarries and on site. Once rough shape was achieved, grinding and polishing with flat stones and sand refined the surface. You'd go through hundreds carving one H-block. The Tiwanaku needed reliable obsidian supply chains. The straight cuts require guides. Strings stretched between fixed points could mark paths. Scoring along the line, then deeper cuts. But maintaining straightness over meters demands patience and skill. Stone was expensive. Each block represented investment. Errors were costly. Despite experimental success, replicating small sections, no modern team has built a full-scale H-block using only copper, bronze, and stone tools. It's theoretically possible, but no one's done it. The time and resources required are prohibitive. The opposite side is ground smooth and polished. This freeze frame is critical evidence. It shows both techniques happening simultaneously, rough work and finish work in parallel. The carvers didn't complete one stage before starting the next. They worked multiple stages at once on different faces. The progression is clear. You can trace the process, see where they started, see where they stopped. But the unfinished stones weren't hidden in workshops. They're scattered at the site, some partially integrated into structures, half-finished blocks sitting next to completed ones. That suggests work stopped suddenly, not a planned pause, not the end of a construction season, an interruption. Something happened. Something that made them drop their tools and leave. By 1000 AD, Tiwanaku collapsed entirely. Prolonged drought disrupted agriculture. The raised field system Sucacolis required consistent water. When rainfall declined, crops failed. Food shortages followed. Social order broke down. Population scattered into mountains, seeking refuge. Cities emptied. The platforms never received crowning architecture. The grand vision unrealized, the system designed to impress pilgrims and project power sat incomplete, frozen in time like a photograph of failure. Looters later scattered blocks. Spanish colonists and treasure hunters broke stones looking for gold. Modern reconstruction efforts in the 60s used poor methods. Not until the 90s did professional archaeologists systematically study the site. Number 9. The Gateway of the Sun connection. Some researchers believe the famous Gateway of the Sun originally stood at Puma Punku, not at nearby Kalasasaya, where it sits today. The gateway weighs roughly 10 tons carved from single andesite block. The frieze depicts deity Viracocha flanked by winged attendants. The design on the gateway's back matches patterns found on Puma Punku stones. The terraced platform mound carved into the gateway resembles Puma Punku architecture, according to archaeologist Alan Kalata. Viracocha, the creator god, emerged from the lake. Puma Punku, with its alignment to cardinal directions and astronomical features, may have functioned as a cosmic doorway. What's certain is the gateway's craftsmanship matches Puma Punku H blocks. Same andesite source, same precision carving, same cultural aesthetic. They're part of the same building tradition. Pouring on site ensured metal filled every gap. Reaching 850 degrees demands fuel and controlled airflow. Charcoal could provide heat. Bellows increase oxygen. Crucibles held molten metal. A small team could operate a portable furnace, but coordinating metalwork with stone placement required planning. But the poured metal proves they were there. The Tiwanaku brought metallurgy to the high plateau. At 12,800 feet, air is thin. Fires burn less efficiently. Reaching 850 degrees takes more fuel and effort. Yet they managed it. Advanced pyrotechnology adapted to altitude. At Puma Punku and other areas like Kantatayita, archaeologists found lintels with complex curved surfaces. Not simple arches. Doubly curved meaning curvature in two directions, simultaneously. Pratzen and Nair noted the steep parabolic curve would tax any stonemason's skills today. Maintaining symmetry and smoothness demands constant adjustment. Modern stonemasons use templates and measuring tools. The Tiwanaku had neither, or if they did, no examples survived. That supports the idea of specialized workshops and elite craftspeople. The models show Puma Punku once had multiple complex gateway structures. The doubly curved lintels crowned the finest entrances. Theories range from intense lightning strikes to ancient metallurgical accidents. No consensus exists. Andesite contains magnetite, a naturally magnetic mineral. Some blocks allegedly show stronger magnetic properties than background levels. Speculation includes intentional selection of magnetic stone for ritual purposes or alignment with Earth's magnetic field. But systematic magnetic surveys of Puma Punku haven't been published in peer-reviewed journals. Anecdotal reports exist. Hard data doesn't. The electromagnetic claims tie into alternative theories about Puma Punku's purpose. Some researchers suggest the site functioned as an energy device or astronomical observatory using magnetic properties. Mainstream archaeology sees it as a ceremonial religious center, pilgrimage destination, political symbol, sacred precinct. Evidence supports religious ritual use. Stone carvings depict deities. Offerings of camelid bones, seeds, and psychoactive plant remains were found. Hair samples from mummies across Tiwanaku culture show regular use of hallucinogenic substances, including infants. The Tiwanaku incorporated altered consciousness into religious practice. Magnetic stones attract iron. That's visible with simple tools. Did the Tiwanaku use it? We don't know. The vitrified surfaces remain unexplained. Lightning strikes can vitrify rock, but hitting the same spot multiple times seems unlikely. Metallurgical accidents could melt surfaces if furnaces malfunctioned, or its weathering misinterpreted. The question stays open. 131-ton stone moved 10 kilometers. Andesite H blocks from 90 kilometers. Joints tighter than razor blades. Modular mass production. Nickel bronze clamps. 4mm drill holes. Straight cuts without iron. Unfinished construction stages. Gateway of the sun connection. Portable smelters. Doubly curved lintels. Possible vitrification and magnetic anomalies. The Tiwanaku at Puma Punku achieved stoneworking accuracy exceeding later Inca accomplishments. They did it without writing systems, without iron tools, without wheels. Knowledge was transmitted orally through apprenticeship. Then the culture collapsed. Drought around 1000 AD dried the raised fields. Population declined. Construction stopped. Sacred sites abandoned. Some buildings show signs of deliberate desecration. Smashed vessels. Unprocessed animal carcasses. Burned roof thatch. Whether rebellion, religious shift, or desperation isn't clear. The end was rapid. The Andean world remembered Tiwanaku. The skills faded, but cultural memory persisted. The process revealed construction sequences and design logic invisible when looking at scattered ruins. The site becomes readable, a broken puzzle with pieces that can be reassembled virtually. The full extent remains hidden beneath soil and damage. We can excavate carefully layer by layer. We can reconstruct digitally using 19th century measurements and modern 3D printing. But we don't have the blueprints. No plan survived, no architectural drawings, no construction manuals. The Tiwanaku had no writing system. Everything was oral. Everything was demonstrated. Everything was memorized. We have radiocarbon dates. We know when construction started. We know when it stopped. We can track the decline. But we don't have written accounts of what happened. No chronicles explaining why, no records of decisions made, no letters describing the crisis. Experimental archaeology bridges some gaps. Nair showed obsidian blades could carve andesite given enough time and skill. Pratzen documented hammerstone techniques still visible on unfinished blocks. But no modern team has replicated a complete H block from quarry to finished installation using only Tiwanaku-era methods. The attempt would take years, cost millions, require dozens of skilled workers learning techniques from scratch. It's theoretically possible, practically difficult. Documentation. When the practice stopped, the knowledge vanished. The stones remain, silent witnesses to human ingenuity pressed to its limits 15 centuries ago at 12,800 feet on the cold Andean plateau. Chemical analysis shows grain boundaries with thick, fluidal matrices unusual in natural sandstone. Detection of chlorine, phosphorus, and sulfur suggests organic binders. The theory? The Tiwanaku transported non-consolidated volcanic tuff, mixed it with carboxylic acids from maize and plants, plus guano and reactive minerals, then poured the mixture into molds. When it hardened, it looked like natural stone. That would explain uniform dimensions, ease of achieving flat surfaces, and transport logistics. Instead of moving 131-ton blocks, they moved materials in manageable amounts, mixed them on site, and cast the slabs. Pratzen's field studies documented natural stoneworking, not casting, but the chemical signatures in some samples don't match natural formation. The debate continues. More testing is needed. Until then, mainstream archaeology holds to the carved stone interpretation. The cultural organization required to mobilize labor transport materials, coordinate construction, and maintain quality control shows sophisticated state capacity. The Tiwanaku weren't primitive. They were advanced within constraints of their technology. They solved problems using available resources. They pushed boundaries. Bayesian chronology. Construction began around 580 AD. The finest stonework clusters between 600 and 630 AD. After that, construction quality declines. The site was abandoned incomplete sometime between 800 and 1000 AD, with latest occupation around 1030 AD. The chronology tightens the timeline. The best masons worked roughly 30 years, one generation. Then conditions changed. Induced collapse. The collapse happened before major drought. So what caused it? No foreign invasion, no mass conflict evidence. The collapse was internal. Elite power broke. Pilgrimage networks dissolved. Raised field agriculture couldn't support population anymore. People left. When you walk the site today, you see potential unrealized, scattered genius, skill without completion, precision without purpose. The stones lie where they fell or where looters dropped them centuries ago. Some face up, some face down, some tilted angles. And the precision remains visible. The 90-degree corners, the smooth surfaces, the dovetail grooves. Even broken and scattered, the quality shouts across the centuries. That's the final mystery. Not how they did it, but why they stopped. The techniques existed. The knowledge was there. The blocks were carved. The systems were in place. The infrastructure functioned. And then silence. The Tiwanaku walked away. Not gradually, not over generations. Within 30 years, the greatest stoneworkers in the Andes abandoned their masterpiece. 500 years later, the Inca stood among the ruins and called it the birthplace of gods. They didn't know who built it. They didn't know how. They didn't know when. The memory had faded completely. The oral traditions broken. The knowledge lost. Only the stones remained, perfect, precise, impossible. The tools are gone. The builders are silent. The techniques were lost. What's left are stones cut with precision that challenges modern replication, joints tighter than razor blades, blocks transported across impossible distances, a civilization that pushed technology to limits, then vanished, leaving questions carved into 131-ton slabs of red sandstone on a windswept plateau where the air is thin and the stones are cold and the silence is absolute.